Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Rowell. Alright, let's continue on with our tour of the George H.W. Bush Presidential Museum. Now in 1977, Bush left Washington and came back to Texas, and basically was offered all sorts of jobs, but turned most of them down, but did do some advocacy work for the American Heart Association, was on the board of trustees at Baylor College of Medicine, and a bunch of other things. But he conceded to friends that he wanted to ultimately run for office in the 80s, and that was when he ran for president. Needless to say, he didn't become president in 1980. Someone else did, but he became vice president and served loyally under Reagan for 8 years. Here's some of the campaign literature. And bumper stickers and pins and all sorts of great commemorative stuff. And then, of course, after Reagan served his 2 terms, the President Bush ran for office in 88, won and was inaugurated on January 20, 1989. There's a photo of the President and First Lady dancing at their inaugural ball, and that's actually a reproduction of the dress that Barbara Bush wore. The actual one, according to this plaque here, was donated to the Smithsonian Institute. I guess that's been a tradition since 1912 that First Ladies donated their inaugural gowns to the Smithsonian. So that's kind of cool. And then, of course, when you're the president, you receive all sorts of visiting dignitaries, and it's not uncommon for them to give you a gift. This is a gift from the President of the Republic of Kenya. That's ivory. Look at that. And that's a copper etching of Bahala Fort from the Sultanate of Oman. And a silver dagger from the Crown Prince and acting Prime Minister of Bahrain. Look at that. That's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, that's where the straw vote comes from. Straw vote 1988 between Bush and Dukakis. Some campaign literature. Congressional experience, President of the Senate for Bush, none for Dukakis. Congressional 7th District, Texas, none for Dukakis. Vice President of the United States, none. U.S. Ambassador, none. CIA Director, none. World War II pilot, none. Chairman of the Republican National Committee. Yeah, well, where's Dukakis now? Some campaign buttons. Alright, then they got these little displays here that look like the White House building, and you can look through the window, and they got these little buttons here that you can manipulate the image and look all over the place. This is the East Room, and you can look all around. That's kind of cool. You can look up, there's an image of George Washington. Pretty cool. And this is the Green Room. The Blue Room. And the Red Room. I guess it's a good thing that made it red, huh? It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense if the Red Room was blue. So this commemorates the time when President Bush met with the Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev, and apparently that's the tux that the president wore and the gown that the First Lady wore. You can see him in this picture here. That's what they had that night. Sounds like good food. I guess if you're gonna meet Gorbachev, you're gonna probably want to serve him something. You're not gonna have hamburgers and French fries, right? Nice seating chart. There's a reproduction of the presidential portrait. The original is still in the White House, obviously. Picture of the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, where the president sat, and of course they've reproduced that here. Some of the presidential photos in the background. I'm guessing I'm not dressed quite as formally as the president would be, but if you get a chance to sit at a reproduction of the president's desk in the Oval Office, you're going to take it, right? That's basically what the president would see sitting at his desk. So kind of a cool reproduction of the Oval Office. I didn't think I remembered seeing this in photos. I don't know if that's the original. It's probably a reproduction. Yeah, now that I think about it, it's in this photo. And there's a couple of them here. There's one here also. This is a reproduction of the president's office at Camp David, with even authentic computer technology. At least it appears to be. Can't get in front of it and tell, but from the back it looks pretty consistent with late 80s technology. Seems like a lot of the presidential libraries around this era include a piece of the Berlin Wall. One of the things they point out about this is that is a stark contrast between the two sides. The side facing the west was always covered with graffiti that was supposed to be inspiring and visionary and encouraging, and the other side was just blank. The side that faced the east. There's a prison mugshot of Manuel Noriega, taken by the DEA shortly after his arrival in Florida. And those are the handcuffs that they wore on the trip back from Panama. And we get some more gifts that came from visiting dignitaries. That was a flintlock reproduction holster pistol donated by the president of Albania in 1982. And then we're moving into this section. This is dealing with the first Gulf War. This is when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait and occupied the country for a period of time until the U.S. came in and chased him back. That's a letter there that the president wrote to Saddam Hussein, trying to find one final opportunity to get Saddam to withdraw from Kuwait. And when this basically got ignored, the war started. According to this, it was handed to Iraq's foreign minister Tariq Aziz by Secretary of State James Baker. Aziz refused to even take the letter to Baghdad and left it on the table. There was high concern that Saddam Hussein would use chemical weapons like he had on his own people, and so the Desert Storm personnel were keeping gas masks and stuff like that with them to protect themselves in the event of a chemical weapons attack. This is a scale model of the Abrams M1A1 tank that they used in Iraq. So this is some of the in-game stuff when they're searching for IEDs using metal detectors. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. When Iraq finally did withdraw from Kuwait, they basically set all the oil wells on fire, creating an ecological disaster. This is called the Gate of Kuwait. It's a hardened door that protected the homes of some of Kuwait's leading citizens. This one's over 100 years old, and it was a gift from the people of Kuwait, and it includes these brass plates along the outside edge listing the names of the men and women who died in Operation Desert Storm. And then this section kind of deals with his re-election attempt and his loss to Bill Clinton. A lot of people say there were a whole bunch of things that went on, but basically a lot of the main thing that people kind of believe is that that he promised he wouldn't raise taxes, and he ended up breaking that promise, and that was kind of the beginning of the end. And this is a little plaque commemorating the christening of the aircraft carrier, the George H.W. Bush. There's a model of it. Cost $4.5 billion, crew 5,000. Length of the flight deck 1,096 feet. Width of the flight deck 251 feet. Flight deck area 4.5 acres. Height 20 stories from the waterline to the mast. Displacement 97,000 tons. Propulsion 2 nuclear reactor driving 4 21-foot diameter propellers. Top speed 30 knots. Catapults 4. Size of the air wing 9 to 10 squadrons with about 85 aircraft. Wow. Air conditioning is 2,900 tons. And this is the president's speedboat he bought after he left office. It's 28 feet long. You can travel up to 50 miles an hour. And this little section here deals with some of the orders of merit that the president received from distinguished honors from organizations and nations around the world for his leadership and dedication to freedom, humanitarianism, and other exceptional contributions during and after his presidency. And this is an image presented from the Habitat for Humanity of some of the houses that were rebuilt after Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. And it's made of a collection of some of the photos of different houses that were built. And here are some paintings depicting different parts of events that occurred during Bush's time. Oh, and here's the rest of the story. A lot of these artists are people that served in the military during Desert Storm. That's kind of cool. And this little section here commemorates the president's service dog, Sully, who was basically a part of the president's life in the final years of his life. There he is laying at the coffin of the president. Apparently Sully is still active and is working at Walter Reed Military Center for working with other wounded veterans. You got this life-size bronze statue that was created for him. There's his harness and his bowl. Alright, the batteries on the camera just died, so I'm switching over to the cell phone here. We're almost done here anyway, but that was a proclamation from President Trump upon the death of George H.W. Bush. And we have, after his passing, they basically transported him home to Spring, Texas on a special train for that. Car number 4141. And in 2019, he was commemorated with a forever stamp with his image. So there we go. I guess we know what's going to be in that new part of the building that's being constructed right now. They're going to have a train, and it looks like they're going to have one of the Marine ones in there. All right, that concludes our video of the George H.W. Bush Museum. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. That was actually a really interesting place. I had a great time looking at that, and I hope you had fun seeing it as well. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.